This is Baggies View. Coming up, we take a look at the derby games against Aston Villa and Wolves. Hello and welcome to Baggies View. I'm Paul Bradley and I'm joined in our Fort Dunlop studios by Chris Lidkowski. Hi Chris.
Hi.
Well, huge win for West Brom at the weekend over Villa, and obviously there's quite a few different reasons of why that result was so big. Just put it in context for us.
Well, it was 1985, their last victory against Villa, so it's another one of the jinxes which has gone this season. They beat Liverpool, beat Everton, won at Arsenal, and Villa was the final one. But it also assured safety. I mean, there were probably very minimal fears, if you like, about relegation going into the game, but those have gone now. You know, it's 8 points ahead of the bottom three with 3 left to play, and because a few of those clubs have to play each other, it's simply impossible for them to get relegated now.
But it could have been such a different story after what's probably the worst start possible for West Brom. And I suppose there's that fighting spirit as well.
Yeah, I think they were slightly unsettled, if you like, by both Thomas and Brunt being absent. They give a lot of width and very good going forward, as we know. And I think Albion, certainly when they were attacking during the first half, they were very narrow. The midfield were very condensed, sort of through the spine of the team, if you like. And I felt, as a result, both Nicky Shorey and Jara on the as fullbacks were a little bit exposed. Shorey especially struggled against Walker and Downing, and they sorted that out at half time. And you know, there's a statistic that I think Villa have been ahead and lost more times than any other team. Well, it's the opposite for Albion. You know, when they've been losing, they've come back more than any other team, and you know, they've got this great resilience about them that Roy Hodgson has instilled. And you know, we have to give credit to Roberto Di Matteo, because as Roy Hodgson rightly said afterwards, he's only been in charge for a few games. Roberto Di Matteo, although the last month or so wasn't too great for him, you know, he's given Albion fans some memorable moments too this season.
And just turning back to the sending off as well, Paul Scharner, a game-changing moment, of course, but probably the opposite way that everyone thought. First of all, tell us about that sending off and then how it affected the game.
Well, I think Paul, in many ways, made it difficult for himself. He got booked very early on, and as soon as he was starting pursuing Petrov, he had this feeling that if he didn't get the tackle spot on, he would be off. And I don't think it really changed an awful lot from Albion's point of view. Joseph Malumbu was still the furthest man forward when he scored, which we've seen a few times this season. It was a little bit more unusual given that he was that only midfielder whereby occupying that territory alongside Scharner. But you know, it really galvanised Albion. And one of the things about Villa, they ran out of ideas. You know, for all of their possession, if you like, during the first half, and for all of their brief periods during the second half, Scott Carson didn't have a massive amount to do. And I think that's testament to the way Albion defended. Abdullah Meite really messed up, you know, in the first few minutes of the game, but he responded brilliantly. Jonas Olsen again, outstanding. And you know, we go on about heroes in this Albion team. Well, he's been one of them. If you look at the record of points they've taken when he's played as opposed to when he's not played, and you know, his contribution again was brilliant.
Okay, well, in a moment I'm going to ask you a little bit more about Roy Hodgson and his future at West Brom. But first of all, we caught up with Roy Hodgson, and here's some of his thoughts.
From a selfish viewpoint, I'm going to have a wonderful weekend. It's a fantastic feeling with 3 games to go to have achieved our major goal of keeping West Bromwich Albion in the Barclays Premier League, so we get successive seasons at least. And I'm rather hoping that we'll be able to build on the foundations that we've laid this year to hopefully find a team that can stay in the Barclays Premiership year after year, not consistently have to bounce back from relegation.
That was an obviously jubilant Roy Hodgson there. Now, turning to his future at West Brom, there'll be some calls for him to extend his contract now. How do you see that going?
Well, he's contracted till the end of next season, which I suspect was in his thinking as much as the club's. You know, the England job will be up at that point, as will the Team GB job for the Olympics. So, you know, the one thing about Roy is he's very re-energised. He's a lot happier than he was, than the man we saw at Liverpool, where he seemed to have so much of a burden on his shoulders with expectation and the fact that he wasn't Kenny Dalglish. he's done a great job at Albion, and there will be calls for him to stay on. I suspect this summer will be key for his future in many ways. He's already dropped hints that he wants Albion to respond in the transfer market. Peter and winger Josef Mulumbu, they'll have to be kept on, no danger about that, and that will be part of his remit. In terms of players coming in, Andy Johnson is a player they are looking at, and there are a few other players that he will be looking for to bring into the club to strengthen them. It won't be 7 or 8 players, it will probably be 3 or 4 key players to just strengthen the actual team, and he'll be looking for Albion to back him in that respect, because he's ultimately not going to want to put his name to a project which he has only unilateral control over. He will want backing from the club, and I suspect if he gets that, if Albion make progress, then he might stay on beyond that. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Certainly if the England job goes to Harry Redknapp as we expect, then we shall see what happens with the Team GB job, but as things stand, I think there's a strong chance he might stay on.
Okay, well, turning back to matters on the pitch again now, it's Wolves up next. Another huge game for West Brom. Just tell us what the significance is of this one, because it's maybe slightly different than normal.
It is a strange game in so much that Albion fans are going there almost to taunt their opponents, if you like. I mean, Wolves have been awful recently. Albion have been the complete opposite. I suspect that if you were to look at the form charts, both teams would be at opposite ends in that respect. And for Albion, the players will view it as another chance to get 3 points and to put one over their rivals. Albion fans are thinking this is the game they could relegate their neighbours in, and it's going to be tough because Albion psychologically are there. There's no danger of them going down anymore. They've done the job, the work's completed, and we'll have to see who's fit and who isn't. But I actually think it might be a tougher game than we're expecting this Sunday, not least that Wolves have to win, and there's only 3 games left for them. They'll be playing a day after everyone else, and that they will need a victory desperately, and it depends on how Albion react to being safe now, but I fear there'll be a tougher game that maybe it would have been 2 weeks ago.
Okay, Chris, well, thanks for your thoughts today, and thank you for watching. We'll be back again next week with more Baggies View.